What do you get when you cross Fist of the North Star and Alien? Somehow with anime, the answer is usually hentai. Advancer Tina is a 45-minute long OVA that adheres to what I call the golden ratio of hentai. My golden ratio of hentai is not a balance between equal measures of quality components, but rather the opposite. I absolutely love when a hentai tries to tell a 24-episode story in 45 minutes with sex animation directed by blind virgins and dubbed in English by voice actors with as little experience in speaking the language as possible.
Manasi, what's wrong?
None of your business.
Did you bring 2 lunch boxes to school?
You always want something in your mouth.
Although Advancer Tina isn't quite up to the Bible Black standards of ESL voice actors, everything else hits the mark.
I'm more concerned about the types of men you're going to attract than the actual danger surrounding your mission.
Hey, sweetheart, what you looking for?
I've got a great dick.
The story is set in the distant future after mankind left the solar system in search for replacement planets due to centuries of treating Earth like it had a lifetime warranty. Now, humanity is stuck living on space stations without doors in hopes of someone stepping up to rid the nearest habitable planet of all of its biological rape machines. So who's lucky enough to get this job? It's Tina, though she doesn't really have much of a choice considering that she's stuck in prison for 2,000 years and this is her only ticket to freedom. So if you're wondering what Tina did to deserve a 2,000-year sentence, my advice is to make something up, like I had to do. See, in my headcanon, Tina stole experimental research from a for-charity clinic on the verge of eliminating uncurable diseases and sold it to a corporation who reverse-engineered it, creating treatment that will cure its patients over a time period which nearly exceeds their life expectancy in order to maximize profits. With these earnings, Tina bought top-secret government weapons off the black market, which she subsequently used to rob an orphanage charity auction of a vintage spaceship, the last of its kind to use a combustion engine. Now, Tina could have just bought the spaceship with her earnings, but she wanted to savor the thrill of stealing it and watching the benefactors cry as she flew away on a spaceship fueled by the combustion of the very same orphans who would have profited from the auction's proceeds. Tina's destination? Well, that's none other than the Space Vatican, which she infiltrates by disguising herself as a nun, sneaking into the Space Pope's chambers at night, and recording a TikTok video of her punching him right in the butthole with a fistful of communion wafers. That must have been what happened, right? I mean, what else could you possibly do to incur a 2,000-year prison sentence? Seeing as how Tina will likely never see freedom again otherwise, she accepts her mission after promises of negating her sentence. Oddly enough, she's armed with nothing but the honor system and a wad of cash large enough to buy her own starship. Why she actually attempts a mission with a survival rate of less than 2% while unsupervised is beyond me. But hey, without her judgment, the OVA would have just not existed. Now I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here. Before she visits this notorious planet, she needs to buy her own starship to get there. In order to obtain one, she visits some random space station filled with Fist of the North Star goons.
I'm gonna kill you, bitch.
The pacing of events within the space station is honestly beyond my comprehension, so let's just take things one step at a time. As Tina arrives on the space station, she is greeted by a couple of goons, and saved by the Wish version of Kenshiro, who I will call Wishiro.
Hey, let's have some fun.
Yeah. You've got an awesome body.
Don't mess with me, I'll carve your eyes out.
Also, what's the deal with this guy's hands exploding after having his fingers shot off? Did those bullets practice Hokuto Shinken? Afterwards, Tina conveniently learns of an auction taking place this very minute for a starship that just so happens to be powerful enough to take her to her destination. Within the auction, we're introduced to Garuda, from what I gather struck it rich, and is now trying to escape his multiple wives.
I bid 4 million ball. I'm looking for a planet where I can escape from all of these women.
However, just when freedom is within Garuda's grasp, the meddling Tina intervenes.
6 million ball.
7 million.
What the fuck?
Oh yeah, what's the deal with this girl?
Tina Owen.
Hey! You meant to trip me!
As things stand, the OVA doesn't have nearly enough time to give proper exposition, development, or even sex scenes for that matter. It really feels as if it were directed by two 13-year-old conjoined twins suffering from a serious case of ADHD. Practically every scene contradicts the next, and this girl has literally no reason to exist. She doesn't offer anything to the plot other than explaining why the space station has no doors, and this questionable scene.
I'm sorry.
Okay, is she eating, or is she trying to cast for ghetto gaggers? I seriously can't decide. Maybe because this is a hentai, they had to hire an all-hentai cast of voice actors, and the woman just did what she was best at? And also I'd like to know, why is Tina looking at her this way? Get your mind out of the gutter, Tina. I know you just got out of prison, but you've got a mission to focus on. Oh, and most importantly, we're about to learn what happened to all the doors.
Where all my money and my ship's keys were stolen from a hotel room without a door.
How dumb! When the supply ships couldn't get through, we didn't have any fuel, so everyone started ripping up stuff and burning everything.
No more locked doors! Gracias!
Oh yeah, remember those women Garuda was speaking of that he was trying to escape? They managed to get aboard the space station, disguised as nuns in order to track him down. This isn't in my headcanon either. They're actually disguised as space nuns.
Stop, please stop. We are in God's service.
Even God will be pleased when you do it with me.
Sister Joanna.
You aren't even nuns at all.
See? I told you they weren't real nuns. That guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about. Now remember when I said this anime had Fist of the North Star influences? For my money, that looks spot on, and I actually like the art style here, considering that I'm partial to the Fist of the North Star aesthetic, and whoever designed the spaceships also did a good job here. Now, back at the hotel, we learn of exactly why we needed to know that the space station has no doors, and you probably guessed it, it's a sex scene, a really bad one. Now, is it just me, or does Garuda constantly give off vibes that he cannot stand this woman?
Garuda, I've missed you.
You idiot.
I'm not gonna leave you. Don't run away.
He doesn't even like having sex with her.
I'm your daddy.
Now, I can't say that I blame him though, considering that she's moving her hips like she's trying to grind coffee beans in a pestle and mortar using her vagina. I seriously wonder why the director felt it pertinent to spend so much time telling us about the lack of doors just to show us a sex scene. If I were to stop and question every inconsistency in this OVA, then I'd be here all day, so let's just move on.
Yes, I was born with supernatural powers. I can talk to plants, animals, fish, even islands.
Oh, really?
What in the hell happened here? Reading thoughts? Talking to islands? If you can talk to islands, why can't you talk to mountains? What's the difference between the two? Who wrote this script? Did they think that islands float and aren't connected to the rest of the planet, so she could only talk to specifically the islands?
Yeah, my fear is that the whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
We don't anticipate that.
Let's just move on. Tina, Wishiro, and the Door Historian embark on their 5-second journey across the solar system to find Garuda and his harem in trouble on an asteroid.
Oh my god, look at this.
Hey, those tentacles, they look familiar, don't they?
Ow, that hurt. You burned my antenna. I'll get you. Oh, goodness, I'm really not having a very good day today.
Now, this is actually where my Alien reference comes into play, because it lays eggs inside of women which caused them to burst open as the monster emerges.
She okay?
Yes, Frill. Joanna's gonna be okay now.
A few moments later.
Now these monsters aren't actually that hard to beat though. They seem pretty susceptible to bullets and explosives and even knives, which you'll see later on. Speaking of which, check out Garuda's last-ditch effort to kill this monster and save his woman. Okay, so wrap your head around this one. The grenade that Garuda sets off has a massive blast radius which catches him, his girl, and the monster inside. But the only survivor here is his girl, despite the fact that she is in between him, the grenade, and the monster. They also don't explain how Washiro's arch nemesis became a tentacle monster in the first place, but at this point I think it's best to just not ask. So because proper pacing goes the way of doors in this OVA, Washiro stabs the tentacle guy in the face, Tina completes the mission, and everyone lives happily ever after.
Your sentence will be reduced to 1,000 years.
1,000? She cleaned up your stinking hot planet, you cheap son of a...
This is my Frill, the one and only.
Hey now, don't forget about me.
Seriously, what the fuck is this ending? Why are they so happy? We literally saw a woman's head pop off and a monster use her entire body as a cock sleeve. And to make things worse, Tina's mission was to only determine whether or not the planet had any habitable zones.
If you find a habitable zone, I'll see that your sentence is voided.
With the starship she bought and the other technology on board, she is capable of analyzing the atmosphere to determine if it's suitable for life.
Temperature 110 degrees Fahrenheit, humidity 20%. No harmful bacteria or toxic pollutants detected.
The only reason they even landed on the planet is because Tina can't drive for shit, and apparently the distance between the ozone and the ground is only about 500 feet. Tina could have literally just flown down into the planet's atmosphere, scanned it, and then fucked off, selling the information to someone who wouldn't throw her back in jail and be on her way with a ton of cash, considering there were supposedly 13 other people competing with her on this mission. And yes, you heard me right, throw her back in jail, because guess what? The guy who screwed her the first time landing her in prison screwed her again by lying to her about her freedom, and she's still got another 1,000 years to serve. Ironically, this is the only time that Tina gets screwed in the entire OVA, despite being the lead character in a hentai. Poor Tina just can't catch a break. That concludes this episode of Guilty Pleasure Theater. If you'd like to see more of these videos, hit the like button and share with a friend, because hoping for exposure on an algorithmic favor alone just won't cut it, especially when I'm covering an anime that less than 3,000 people on Mal have ever seen. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later, Space Cowboy.